my name is Gudrun from GE Designs. Welcome to my Tipsy Tuesday show. Said it wrong. Hi, everybody. It's a great day here in Minnesota. Lovely,
yes,
lovely.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Say hi to Mr. HP. Say hi to each other. Make sure you post in the comments your name and where you're tuning in from. Great to have you all here, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. As always, throughout the show, make sure you send us all the hearts and the thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. I've got lots to share for you today. If you're new around here, make sure to follow our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss a show. You're in for a treat today. I've got some really cool things to show you. So we will be looking at some more strip joints quilts. There have been an abundance posted since we did our first slideshow, which was I think 3 weeks ago, and so it's time for some more strip joints. Can never have enough strip joints. And then I'm also going to be demoing for you how to fuzzy cut fabrics, panels, with the Stripology squared rulers. They are awesome. So check in on that a little bit later. Of course, every show we have a giveaway. So 2 winners every show. $25 gift cards are up for grabs. One is randomly chosen from all of your comments during the live show. So the more you comment, the better chances to win. And then we have a giveaway question at the end to give you all of you a chance to win, even if you're not able to watch us live. So last week was an amazing show, and I asked you this question at the end: what is your favorite color of fabrics? Because it's a different favorite color for what you wear or for what you sew with. I totally think that. And our winner is Leslie Litwiller. Congratulations, Leslie. Her answer was, my favorite fabric colors for quilts are blues. You're not alone there, Leslie. There is a lot of folks that like blues in quilts. And you know what? I don't blame you, because blue has so many different spectrums. So you can always make quilts look totally different, even though they're still using blues.
I like the blues too.
You like the blues? We don't like to have the blues, but we like them in quilts.
We like the music blues.
Oh, we like the music. We like the blues. Yes, we totally do. Oh, you should play some blues right now. That would have been perfect. You should have been prepped for this.
Sorry, we don't have the copyright.
All right. Well, our show last week was a big one, and I want to start by thanking all of you for your wonderful reception of our brand new Color Club. We sold out of subscriptions in less than 24 hours, so thank you for trusting in us once again. And so just so you know, we will be opening up more spots. It's just a matter of when I can secure enough fabric to open up more spots. That's always how it goes in this industry. If we can get the fabric, we will be able to open up more subscriptions. And then, of course, as we move on, we will, if there are cancellations, we will open those spots up right away. So just the easiest thing to do is go to the actual Color Club. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Color Club on the website, and it will say sold out, but there is a box there to put your email, and so you will be notified if there's a spot that opens. So I also from last week's show, I talked about how we had 9 spots open for my Iceland tour this summer, happening in July. Like literally, how long is it? It's what, 2 months away? Less than 2 months away? Less than 2 months away.
Less than 2 months.
Yeah. And so that was amazing, because the next morning those spots were gone too. So some people ready to travel. I can see that, and it's very exciting. I think we're going to have such a blast. And so we will be announcing our next year's tour probably soon after this one. So stay tuned. Happy birthday, Annette Olsen! Woohoo! Happy birthday. And probably more of you have a birthday today. So happy birthday. All right, so let's dive into some you want to, let's enter the strip joint again. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a more fun strip along than the strip joints one, just for the namesake. But it's a wonderful thing. So I gathered more of your quilts from what you posted, and we put together a little slideshow. So let's check out some strip joints. They are all so gorgeous. So here's to you, everybody. Thank you for participating. I'm so excited that you are inspired by what we do. So it's just a treat for me to see all those beautiful quilts. And some of you photographed them in gorgeous places. So that's always fun for me too. If you're wondering how to photograph your quilts the best so they, the colors really turn out right, I did a Tipsy Tuesday episode on photographing your quilts. And the key is really take them outside and out of direct sunlight. That's the best. You're going to get the best true colors that way. And so check it out. Check it out. You can probably see if you go to the website, go to videos and Tipsy Tuesday, you know the log there, you can just see the numbers and see that what we talk about in each episode and find it. It was probably about a year and a half ago or something like that. But it was a good one. A lot of folks thanked me for giving some tips on that. And if you have to do it inside, you have to photograph a quilt inside, try to take it to a place where you get natural light and turn off the flash on your phone or on your camera. It really helps because the flash has really changed the color of everything. All right, so we're going to move on to our main topic of the show, and this is something that of course, we've done a little bit of before, but maybe not specifically. So my ruler videos with both the XL and the squared rulers that are just the basic Stripology 101 videos talk about fuzzy cutting using the rulers, but I thought I needed to do a specific video where I talk about how you can do not just squares, you can do rectangles, and I love my squared rulers. That's another question I always get. If I have the XL, I don't need the squared, right? No, of course, you don't need it. Need is different than want. But I, however, whenever I'm doing any kind of fuzzy cutting or squaring up, I love my squared and I love my mini. For that reason, they are just easier to maneuver. Not that I don't use my XL sometimes to do that stuff. It is great too, but it is bigger. It's bigger and harder to maneuver than the squared rulers. So I did a video on how you can fuzzy cut fabric. If you're just fuzzy cutting any size, something out of a, you see a cool emblem on a fabric, you want to use that. And also then I talk about panel blocks in particular. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after the video. And then also my favorite is squaring up or trimming embroidery blocks, because if you do any kind of embroidery, machine embroidery, even hand embroidery, it's always going to be raised, and depending on how much stitching is on there, it's going to be really raised, and then sometimes there might be embellishments on top of that. And so when you try and cut out a square with a regular ruler, it just does not work because it's just dancing on top of your design. But we all know the Stripology rulers, when you lay it on thickness, the slits will just lift up wherever there's thickness in the block. All the other ones will just keep everything in place and hold the fabric close to the cutting mat. So I did include that in this video because I think it's so important, and I think it's really great for anybody that does a lot of embroidery to switch over to the Stripology rulers because they just really work the best. So let's check out this video on fuzzy cutting. Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, and in this video I'm going to show you how to fuzzy cut fabric panels, or even embroidery blocks using my favorite tools, the Stripology squared rulers. The Stripology squared ruler is a smaller version of the Stripology XL, and it was basically designed to square up any block up to 12.5 inches, but it is excellent for doing any kind of fuzzy cutting. The Stripology mini ruler is a smaller version of the squared. It's great to do smaller things working with smaller blocks, so I'm going to show you how you can easily fuzzy cut fabric panels, and even embroidery blocks. So first off, I want to talk about the markings. So the markings on the ruler, you will start off by finding what do you want to fuzzy cut, what is the size you need. The white squares are for using 1/2 inch blocks. So 1/2 inch sizes, you will be using white squares and white lines. Black squares and black dotted lines are for whole inch sizes. So for example, I'm going to start by using the mini, and we're going to fuzzy cut this Eiffel Tower to use in a quilt. So I'm going to move this one out of the way. One of the tools that I love to use with these rulers, whether I'm squaring up blocks or fuzzy cutting or anything, are my G-Easy ruler stickers. They come in 2 different packs of colors, 3 colors in each, and believe me, I use them all the time. So figuring out what size I want here for the Eiffel Tower, probably if I'm using it in a square position in a quilt, I would be cutting it to a 4.5-inch square. You could also do a rectangle easily, but I'm going to show you how to do the 4.5-inch square. So first off, I want to find the white 4.5-inch square on the ruler, and I've put my arrows on the 4 corners just to identify that square. And then I've also gone down from the corners of the square to indicate which slits I'm going to be cutting through. So I have put pink arrows on the slits where I need to cut. So each square will have a center line. You'll see the thick white center lines going through the center of the square. This is the exact center of the block. It also has the white dotted line going diagonally through the center. So this is what makes this so great for fuzzy cutting. So we want to center it on kind of the Eiffel Tower. So all I do is take this horizontal line here and vertical, place it right in the center of the Eiffel Tower, and then I can kind of identify, okay, how far from the edge is the bottom of the Eiffel Tower. This is about a 1/2 inch here, and then I have about a 1/2 inch up here because I'm looking at these 4 corners. So now it's perfectly positioned to cut it into a 4.5. So I just go into the slits where I had marked with the pink arrows. I make my 2 cuts, and then we turn it and position it again using that center line here and noticing where the edge is. This is where I'm going to be cutting, and this is where I'm going to be cutting. The second thing we want to also do is make sure that the cut edge here is aligned with that horizontal line, so our piece will be absolutely square. And then we do the other 2 sides, and we come up with a square. So if you wanted to do a rectangle instead, that's very easy. You start off doing it shorter. So I started off trimming 3.5, and then I turned it and trimmed it on the 4.5. So very easy to do any kind of size square or rectangle. Now the mini ruler only goes up to 6.5 inches. So that is the largest you can use with this ruler. But of course, the original squared ruler, you can go all the way up to 12.5 inches. So I love this when I am fuzzy cutting fabric panels. If you want to cut them a certain size and use it in a quilt, so you could take a panel block and replace that with any pattern, just to replace a block with a panel block. And what I like to do when I'm cutting these kinds of panels up is kind of first check how big is the panel by using kind of the inner left side. So on the 0 slit and on the 0 line, I will kind of see, okay, this is about 9 inches. This block is 9 inches. I could also make it smaller and kind of cut it on inside that little plaid portion. So it could be as small as a 7 inches finished, so a 7.5 inch cut block, or I could make it even bigger and utilize some of that black around and make it as big as 10 inches. So that gives you lots of options for what kind of quilt you want to use this in. So one other thing I always want to do when I'm using blocks like this, because frames and lines like this printed on fabric are never going to be straight. So you never want to just go in and cut with scissors, because you're never going to have a perfect square that way. So I always look for space and try to either utilize the black around here, or I would cut somewhere in the middle here where I have some wiggle room. So when it's sewn into a quilt, you won't see a line that's half on, half in, half out throughout the quilt. So I would probably start with the outer. So let's say I'm going to trim this to a 10-inch square. So that will be a 9.5 inch finished block. You could also do a 9.5 inch finish, 9.5 inch trim for a 10-inch block. So let's just do 10, because I want to show you how to do the whole inch unit. So I'm going to start by placing my arrows on the 4 corners. So I find the 10-inch corner up here, and also on the opposite corner. So I'm following the black line, and then I want to go down here and go straight down to the 10. I'm just going to mark where I'm going to cut. So on the 10, and on the 0. So you'll notice with even if you're using black lines and on this side, you still will have a diagonal black line going through the center. And then of course this is 10 inches, so your 5-inch line going this way and your 5-inch slit going this way is going to be your centers. So you can still use that if you need to center anything like I showed with the mini ruler. So now all I'm going to do is center those markings and on my block and make sure that I'm about even distance from the edge of the block. As you can see, it's far from being straight, but I want to have a similar margin everywhere and kind of, you know, make sure it's semi-straight. It's never going to be completely straight, believe me. This is fabric we're working with. So now I'm ready to make my cuts. I'm going to cut on the 10 and on the 0, and I don't want to cut too far, so I can also use the next one. Now this probably didn't go all the way through, so I can just finish it this way. And then I can just fold this up and turn my piece, and I can trim it the other way. So again, now I want to make sure that I use the 0 line along the bottom here, and then making sure that I have equal distance here from the inner frame, and this is looking pretty good. I can make my cuts, and I will have a perfectly square panel block to place into a quilt, replacing a piece block or throwing them in anywhere, but this is the best and easiest way to square up those panel blocks. One of my favorite things to do to use these rulers for is also if you do any kind of machine embroidery, other kind of embroidery, maybe embroidery with a lot of embellishments. You know, the issue that we have when we're using regular rulers to trim these up is that when you place a regular ruler on top, it's gonna kind of topple on top if there's thickness in the block, which usually is with your embroidery. But what is beautiful about the Stripology rulers with the slits, they will just lift up wherever there's thickness inside the block, or even if with seams and things like that. So it will really hold everything in place. It will kind of push this down, so your block will be perfectly squared every single time. So I'm going to just use this center. It's hard to see on the white fabric, but I can see my center here. So here I'm thinking this is probably going to be an 8.5 inch, what I'm going to trim this to. So again, I want to place my arrows on the 4 corners. So now I have it marked here, and now we just want to make sure it's centered. I think the center of the block is right here. This is looking good. I have even space on both sides, and I can make my trims. And then I just turn and repeat on the other side, making sure that this cut edge is aligned with the bottom, and even distance on each side. There it is. And here we have our block ready to go into whatever you need to use it for. I hope you enjoyed learning how the Stripology squared ruler works so well for fuzzy cutting. The Stripology XL ruler, of course, has all of those squaring up lines and markings as well. However, the squared rulers are just so handy to grab, easier to maneuver, so they work best for me every time. Thank you for watching. Well, I hope that was informative. I was checking out your comments a little bit, so I think a lot of you learned some things. And I brought some more panels just to talk about more and fuzzy cutting and do a little more after the show. I wanted to, and then I'll take questions. So pop those questions into the comments whenever they arise, and Mr. HB, if he catches them, he will put them up on the screen after. But the panel I showed you in the video was the buttermilk farmstead, and so this one is the one I cut. And so I wanted to show you, so this one I cut this size because I like to have that buffer, because that gold line here is never going to be square. This is fabric, this is actual fiber, and somebody asked if I actually try and press things and get them straight. Yes, I press everything, always steam press everything before I cut any kind of fabric. But it's still going to be off because this is screen printed, so it's not running against the grain, along the grain or anything like that. So it's always going to be off. Some are more off than others, and so you have to just kind of finagle and fudge it a little bit. So I'm going to show you, I brought some that we have in stock. So this one, but the fun thing is with panels that are like this, you know, most people think that you have to be stitching right up against this frame to include this, but it's just honestly very hard, because many times you have something that's supposed to be square and it's narrower than it is tall, and so you rarely get a square. But here's the fun part: you can do a couple of things, because trying to sew up to the edge of this is always going to reveal you if you are a little bit off, because it's just such a hard line, just like what I talked about with this one, that brown line, or that honey, what would you call this color? Kind of a honey tan line is so hard that you're going to always notice if you're a little bit on, a little bit off. So that's why I like the buffer. So for example, this one, I just start measuring, and I always start measuring here in the 0. So this could be as small as, if we cut this one out, you could go in and have all this black, which you would never notice where that line is. So you could go as small as, let's say, an 8-inch finished block, so which means you would cut an 8.5. Or if you have something that you want bigger blocks, a quilt that you have bigger blocks, you could probably go as big as, I would say, 11 inches. Here's another little trick when you're trying to figure that out. You have those diagonal lines, so it's really good to use the middle units. So use the diagonal lines, the white diagonal lines. Try and place them on the 4 corners of the block, which is kind of hard because, like I told you earlier, they're usually not square. Yeah, that's impossible with this one. But this is kind of where you can find, okay, how big can I go? I can cut an 11-inch, and then that would give me a 10.5-inch finished block, where you can cut a 10.5, and then you have all this orange. You have like an orange automatic border around each block, which is kind of cool because some are black, some are purple. So always think about that. You know, you're not always tied into how big is this block. You have options. Definitely have options. And then I wanted to show you this Curiouser by Tula Pink that's coming. Actually, it is on the way. I'm so excited. We did make a quilt out of this, and I can't wait to show it to you. I quilted it last week. So this is the Curious and Curiouser. That this is a line based on Alice in Wonderland. So they have this print. It's not a panel per se. It's a print. It's running yardage. But obviously we want to fuzzy cut these and use them. So it has the Queen of Hearts, and then it also has Alice. So we'll talk about that more. I'll do more on this when the fabric comes in. But I squared these, or I fuzzy cut these into an 8.5-inch square, so it would fit my quilt. And just as a, I always find a little rule when I'm doing a lot of the same. So I had an 8.5-inch block, and I learned that that little heart on the Queen's cheek, if I put my center kind of at the bottom of the heart, it's already lined up perfectly. So I would just pop that right in the bottom of the heart, and then I would just use my horizontal lines to kind of see if this is even. Then I just would turn it a little bit, because also here's that horizontal line. We want that to go through this bottom heart. And then it was so quick to do all of them, because I would just pop this on her face, and there it is. And then I just make my cuts through the slits associated with the 8.5, and then I turn it and align it on the bottom here again. And the beautiful thing is that center is still on that heart. So it's all lined up automatically. Isn't that beautiful? So whenever I'm doing something new, when I'm doing the first one out of a fabric, I will make note of, okay, where did I line that center up? And then I will just repeat that. So that was beautiful. Isn't that great? All right, so let's take some questions. Do you have any questions, Mr. HP? Are they asking questions? If you iron and stretch the block to be straight, does it shrink once you wash it after quilting it? Yes, so this is something you need to be really careful about because it's all based on, we're talking about screen printed fabric. So the fibers of the fabric are always going to run one way and the other. So the weave and the weft. And so they're always going to realign themselves. The fibers are just always going to realign themselves. So that's what we don't want to stretch things. What we want to do is press them with steam, and so that they, align themselves into their natural state. It's kind of like washing, because you do the steam and they really realign themselves, and then you cut it. And even though it's not purely on the straighter grain, because it's not printed on the straighter grain, so it's fine. So that's why you don't want to really stretch things and cut it so it just looks right, because then once it's sewn into the quilt, it might skew, and then your quilt might have issues. So that's just my take on it. So leave all that work of trying to stretch or block your fabric before doing all the sewing. Would this ruler work to cut t-shirt quilts? Absolutely. It's the best thing for t-shirt quilts. Absolute best thing. I've made 2. Yes, I have 3 children that graduated high school. Svana's t-shirts are all prepared with their interfacing on it in a little box. It's terrible. She just finished her sophomore year in college. So
that's terrible.
I will finish it before she finishes college, okay? This is my pledge to all of you. Now that all of you are listening, you can hold me accountable. But this is great to work with t-shirts because they really stretch. So you iron it onto that interfacing, and then you pop that ruler on, and you depending on what size. If you're doing all the same size, I don't like to do that. I like to go by the design, and so you can just play with your sizes that way. Is this one glow in the dark? This one is not glow in the dark, but this, the Halloween one I showed you earlier, is. How do you suggest to use the ruler if the portion of fabric you need is in the center of the panel? Well, that's always a little tricky. So that's why when I'm starting with panels, I will just lay my ruler and start cutting. And so you kind of have you're not cut out all the way to the edge. I don't know if you remembered when I did the cow one. So it wasn't cut all the way. So then I lift my ruler up and just finish it, just kind of free motion, because then I can really see where it's going. I don't like to cut everything out and then square up, because then sometimes you miss a little piece. But obviously, if you have a really big piece of fabric, it is easier to kind of cut it down a little bit before you start fuzzy cutting out of that. Would you use the XL ruler to trim a large rectangular panel? Yes, absolutely. If it's bigger than 12.5, obviously the squared is going to be too small. So you can use the XL to cut up to 20, 21. So that's the beautiful thing about the XL. It is bigger. You can do up to about 13 with this, even though it doesn't have the measurements, but it has each edge of the ruler is an inch. So the squared ruler from edge to edge is 14.5 inches. So that's really good to know. So you can still use a centering and just use the edges. Do you ever use the lines on the cutting mat to line up the ruler? Yeah, sometimes I do, but when you're fuzzy cutting, you got all that fabric. So you really want to focus on the lines on the ruler. So I use the lines on the mat, obviously, when I'm sub-cutting anything, you want to line things up straight. But in this particular task, you really want to focus on the lines on the ruler and let that help you in centering your piece. Can you use the original ruler to fussy cut? Yes, absolutely. It will not have these lines, but of course it has all kinds of lines. And like I showed you, you know, if you're cutting 8-inch square, you know, the 4-inch slit and the 4-inch line is going to be the center. So you can always just mark that center with the ruler stickers, and then you can just place your ruler stickers and make a square, even though that ruler doesn't have that. Use the stickers to turn it into a square ruler. If blocks are really distorted, do you reblock them? I haven't gotten a case where it's really distorted. They are always going to be distorted, but I really haven't had the case where they're too bad to use, but I'm sure that happens. It probably all depends on the quality of the fabric, the quality of the fabric maker. So I haven't experienced that, but it's the same thing. If you try and block them, they still might change on you. As you start piecing and sewing and ironing on the way, they still might start kind of, you know, turning your back on you. So this was the same question. So blocking, yeah. We don't need to answer that again. All right. Any more questions you see? I don't think so. But keep them coming, you guys. Have you figured out a way to cut a diamond rhombus shape? A diamond you can easily cut. So that's in all the Stripology 101 videos. You, especially the XL, you can cut diamonds and actually 6-degree triangles as well. So that's in the Stripology 101 XL video. Will you talk about the Scandia panel, please? Well, it's nothing to talk about. I had some stashed away. So this was a panel. Obviously, it's a circle. So you want to utilize the red around it because, you know, you have to float the circle. You could also, if you wanted to applique the circle, you could do that. But it's not a perfect circle. Just like any other fabric, it's never going to be, when it's printed, it's never going to be a perfect circle. But this was last year's Scandi. Scandi's coming soon, you guys. Scandi's coming. I think its ship date was June, but as you know, most fabric lines are shipping 4 to 6 to 8 weeks late. What stabilizer do you prefer for a t-shirt quilt? Oh boy. I don't remember the names of them. It's been way long, but you can ask. You want something that will stabilize, something that's does not stretch. Obviously, it will keep the stretch out of the t-shirts. Go anywhere where they sell stabilizer and they will tell you. Most quilt shops carry the stuff that is needed for t-shirt quilts. So
Behind you.
Oh, behind me we have Sammy is in the back. This was there last Friday as well. So this is from our botanicals line that we're expecting to ship. We're hoping it would ship 2 weeks ago, and then it gets pushed back. But we're expecting it to come like beginning of June. And I just wanted to show you this Sammy because most Sammys you've seen are so colorful and wild, and this one is very subtle. And I love the bird print in there. You can really see the birds and that accent color. I just absolutely love that one. Then in the corner is Lexi. It's a very different Lexi from the Lexi I have made, or the 2 Lexis I have made, because this one is made with another line that should be coming around the same time. Okay, now I'm totally blanking on the name of that line. It's basic gray. It'll come, you guys. But it's all neutrals as well. Very classic, and we did it scrappy. So it was not one background, so it's more scrappiness. But since it's all, you know, same monochromatic, it really is cool that way. Really just seeing the lights and the darks. And then on the cabinet, we have strip twist from made with 1.5-inch strips from my Stripology 2 book. All right. Could you suggest some patterns to use with panels? That's a great question. So there's a lot of, one of my favorite ones is Emma. So any kind of pattern that has blocks, and it's not, you don't need a lot of blocks to create a pattern. They work great, where you can just pop those panels randomly in. I love those types of patterns. And then, of course, there's always patterns that have something that there's a square and you can swap that out with a panel. So one thing I did, I used Teen Spirit once for a panel that was a rectangular panel, and some of them were square, so I just added fabric into the middle of those blocks. Emma is a favorite. Roxanne would be a great one. Marina would be great. You can alternate. You can actually alternate. Do just B blocks, and and all the A blocks could be a panel. Excuse me. So there's lots. Sorry, a bug flew in my mouth. Are you going to see the volcano? Yes, we are. So there are some options for tours to the volcano. It doesn't require right now. If you want to do the drive and hike, it does require about an hour and a half hike each way, and it's pretty strenuous. So it wouldn't be for everybody. They do offer helicopter rides too, so it will be based on each traveler what they want to do. We're hoping that they will start offering where you can ride the big wheel trucks closer, so it would be only, you know, a half-hour walk or something to it. But we're definitely, it's an option, but it's an added option, because obviously it's not maybe for everybody. But I think anybody can get in a helicopter. Fly up to it. Yikes. You're gonna go see it, right?
Silence.
He's scared.
I'm from South Minneapolis.
I told him he would have bragging rights for life with all of his friends in South Minneapolis.
Yeah, if I live to brag.
That's his worry. Yeah. Well, I'll take care of you. I've lived with this all my life. Eruptions.
That's why you're in Minnesota now.
No. Not really.
It is cool. It is very cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a once in a lifetime, of course. Can't miss it. All right, so we're gonna move on then. Great questions. Keep them coming on the fuzzy cutting. We will put this video up on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it over and over and check it out. So that'd be great. All right, so I wanted to talk about, you know, how I pull the fabrics for the bundles that we show, and I've gotten some questions and comments on it. It goes really fast, and you just talk about each one. Well, what we do right after the show, we take a photo of the fabric pull and we put it in a blog post. So if you go to the website and click on our blog, you will see a photo of the bundle and all of the 1 yards that I pulled. And actually, below that, there are links directly to each color. So check this first one out. So this is from this last week. Is Here We Glow. It's actually the panel I just showed you earlier. So these are the 1 yards that I pulled with it. And then we list them below. And it's just so pretty. Photos are so pretty to see them all together. And then we have the next one. I wanted to show you the photo. So this one I showed also last week. This is forage. Look how beautiful. So above in that arch are all the fabrics in the bundle, and then below are the ones I pulled. Wouldn't that make a glorious quilt? Just beautiful. So then we have Discovery. Discover. This is the panel of the bundle I showed you on Friday, the travel one. Very appropriate, very masculine kind of designs and color. Obviously beautiful for anybody that travels a lot. Beautiful for kids that like airplanes and things like that. And a really awesome colorway. I think it very kind of subtle but cool. And then we have Sunburst, my sun tanning ladies. I just love those. There's just juicy colors. It's really cool to see all of them together like this, and you can see how harmoniously they go with the other fabrics. And then the last one was also Friday. That was Fresh in Friday. Violet Hill. It's a gardening themed bundle in beautiful creams and greens and purples and violets, and just awesome colors to go with it. That's just really calling my name right now. But so check that out. It's always going to be on the blog. So after a show, maybe the next day, if you're thinking about something, it will be there with the links, which is always really helpful. So we have one new bundle to show you tonight, and one little pre-cut. So we don't have a lot of pre-cuts, but I always like to purchase pre-cuts, especially when they will work well with my pattern. So this is a charm pack called Spring Chicken by Sweetwater for Moda. And why I chose to get charm packs of this is because of the scale of the fabrics. Look, they're all beautiful small scale prints. So any of my little runners, of my little things would work great in this because they're just such a small scale and beautiful springy colors. Very Sweetwater. Nice little gingham, and look how small scale it is. So some fabrics just, it really doesn't make sense to buy the charm packs because they're just too big prints that they wouldn't really shine. But this one would really shine in a charm pack, which is why I went with a charm pack on this one. Beautiful line, and like I said, so pinks, greens, grays, and yellows. And then we have a brand new line that I know my Minnesotans are going to love because it's called At the Lake. Yes, everybody's getting ready and probably already at the lake. Was it called On the Lake? Maybe it is. It's called On the Lake. Maybe it is. I didn't save the bag, so I might be fibbing here, but you see what I'm saying. So I love the theme. It's very, of course, fishing motivated, and sometimes I don't like all fish fabrics because the fish are not pretty, but these ain't bad. These are actually quite good. I love all the fishing gear and the what are these called? Waders. Love those. Yeah, look at these fish. They're kind of cute. They're not ugly because sometimes the fish are just not very attractive up close. So
cute?
Some I think.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, little goldfish and.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're kind of cute.
All right.
From a distance, at least. Then we have a nice plaid in these grays. So it's a really nice brownish gray, which goes well with the, the color of the fish and the wood and everything. And then we go into the blue color. So the medium blue, have the same print here. We have the fish print. And the gear, actually, I don't know if this is a tackle box. It just looks like a tree stump. But I think it must be a tackle box. Yeah, that's what I thought was a great idea. A really nice tone-on-tone print, basic, a blender, and then we have the plaid and the blue. And then we go into those deeper blues. So a navy in that main print. Now this one would be cool to fuzzy cut, you people. Wouldn't that be great? We have the tone-on-tone in the dark, and then we have also only one of this green, which kind of ties it all together. So this green obviously prompted me to pull some more greens, because if you're going to leave this in with here, then it will kind of stick out like a sore thumb. However, if you wanted to do something like Sammy behind me, this would be a perfect one to pull out and use as your accent. Or if you were doing Clarissa or Amelie, that would be a perfect one to pull out and use as your accent, because it's in here everywhere, and then it would not fight with anything else. But if you wanted to just use them all and add some greens, I thought this would be a beautiful texture with a peppered cotton in the jungle. I love that tone of green. A little bit darker green with a canvas pine needle. And then we go the lighter one with a Jot Dot olive because it has the dark and the light in here. So you have a nice variety there. Then I did some navies. So to tie in with these darkest ones, the Grunge Peacoat has that same hue that this dark navy has. And then I did Provisions Indigo because there's actually a lot of red in here. So a really nice tone, and then the Dash Flow Cobalt, which would be kind of your mix from the dark into the lighter blue because it has those specks in it and has a lot of gray hue to it, which tones very well with this one. And then I did some more grays to work with these guys. So the Grunge Grease is a nice gray that has a lot of brown hue to it. So is the Thatched Gray, almost a perfect match here. And then the Dash Flow Pebble, which has the lighter and the darker in there. And I found two awesome diagonal stripes that would work perfectly. The diagonal stripe Life's Recipes Ivory. It has the darkest, the medium grays, and the taupey grays. And then the diagonal stripe from the Discover line that we just saw earlier in the navy, and has that brown in here that ties very well in with the fish. So those two would be great. If you wanted to add use all this and add a sharper color, a dark neutral, kind of to go with the darkest hue here in this plaid or the darkest gray in the fish, I thought this one was the perfect one. This is Spectrostatic Gunmetal. It has specks of white, or not white, but a light color in there. But it is the perfect match here with this tone. So that could be another accent, could be a great inner border, sashing, anything like that. So this is our, what did we say, on the lake? On the lake, yes.
Finally, something for the guys.
Something for the guys, for the fishermen and the fisher gals. I mean, a lot of ladies like to fish too. Your sister is an avid fisherman. She loves fishing. You guys all know her. Kathleen loves to go fishing. Now, you didn't get that bug. Like, her kids love it too.
Yeah.
You didn't really get the fishing bug.
I don't like my hands getting all stinky.
I knew it. Yeah, I'm just too... I can't just sit there.
I can't sit still that long.
No, me neither. I can't sit still. I'm all for going out on the lake and relaxing, but when I'm trying to get something, that's a little too painful for me. But my daughter and my sons, one of my sons they love fishing, so they will do it. My daughter used to do it when she was just like 3 or 4. Her favorite thing was to go fishing off the dock. So that is on the lake. So now, do we have a live winner? We have a winner from your comments. Let me know. There it is, Janice Markham. Janice, you have won a $25 gift card to spend in our store. So make sure you send us an email to help@gequiltdesigns.com and claim your prize, and we'll get that to you right away so you can go shopping. But that is it for us tonight. I want to finish it off because we are going to have a little bit different week. This coming Friday, there will be no Happy Friday show. It is the holiday weekend, and we are going to take some time off. We're going to relax a little bit.
Yay!
Yay! However, we got questions. Is there going to be a cocktail? Yes. Relaxing usually involves cocktails, at least in my world. So I will post a recipe for a cocktail. But we will, of course, finish. Now we have a live winner. We'll finish with your giveaway question. And that is, have you ever made a fuzzy cut quilt? Now, I have made multiples where I used the panels partially. I've never done an all fuzzy cut quilt, I would say. But I have done some, yes, parts of quilts that have been fuzzy cut. So, no show this coming Friday, but possibly a post. Oh, definitely a cocktail post. But we will be live next week for another Tipsy Tuesday. And that is, Tipsy Tuesday is June 1st. June 1st. Oh my gosh, it's June already. 7 p.m. Central. And the next Happy Friday show will be, I wrote that wrong, didn't I?
I was waiting for you to read that.
I think it's June 4th. June 4th is the next Happy Friday. I have to do the math really quick in my head. I wrote this wrong down. Anyways, G Designs will be closed on Memorial Day, which is this Monday, but we'll get right back to shipping the following Tuesday. And I wish you all, if you're in the U.S., a really happy holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, long weekend. Whoop, whoop. Other than that, we'll see you next week for another Tipsy Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.